Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and CNN is having an absolute meltdown right now because this was the moment that they realized it was all over. And a big special shout out to you, Jeff Duncan. But before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our great sponsors over at Colonial Medals Group. Now that Trump has won the election, we still need to protect ourselves against inflation with gold and silver, and that's exactly what Colonial Medals Group can do.
That doesn't seem to be his mojo, right? That's not his deal, right? He doesn't kind of heal and bring people together and say, okay, now let's come together and move forward. And I think, Jeff, you said something earlier about solving problems. What concerns me is I don't think he cares about really solving problems except for the most expedient one of not going to jail, basically. I mean, when he was talking about tariffs, what have we heard? That's going to bring inflation back up. It's going to be bad for the economy and bad for jobs. So even some of the things, if he enacts some of the things he's talked about, mass deportations, what is that going to mean in the day-to-day lives in our country and the damage that could do? And I hear what folks are saying about, I agree, America, this is what you want, this is what you got, this is who you are. And yet we will have to live with the consequences if he does plan to and actually move forward on enacting. We could have a national abortion ban. Women are going to have to deal with it. So that's what my concern is. I don't think he's someone who's going to try to bring people together or try to work across the aisle. And given the way things seem to be going with the congressional races, he may not have to.
I used a hopeful tone.
But wait a minute.
I know,
It was a hopeful tone.
We always talk about these things of bringing people together, and I don't know if that's necessarily the aims of politics. You need dissension. You need two parties going back and forth. Did President Biden bring the country together after 3.5 years? I know a whole lot of Republicans who would say, hell no. When you spent 3.5 years criticizing these people, calling them racist, calling them bigots, referring to them as uneducated. And now they've won. They've shown force, they've won. They've rejected the elitism that comes out of Washington, D.C. They've rejected the elitism that has come from Republican establishment, and they've made it clear we want to go in a different direction. And I don't know why we keep ignoring this reality. Donald Trump won again by a very sizable margin for a reason, Casey. And I think to minimize the concerns that people continue to say they have about our party establishment, Jeff, about the Democratic Party establishment is not going to change things. What propelled this man to the White House in 2016 is still there. It is still there. And I think it's incumbent upon the leaders in both parties to figure out what they need to do to serve those grievances.
I think,
first off, Jeff Duncan is not a Republican. The GOP in the state of Georgia, my home state, I had to watch I was forced to vote for this dude. In the primaries, we had a much better candidate. And the cascading collapse of the Georgia State GOP is all thanks to Jeff Duncan. Y'all, I tried to warn fellow voters that this dude is going to cause problems. I was right. I was also right on Brad Raffensperger. He was the least qualified candidate to run for Secretary of State, and he won because he had the best sign game that I've ever seen. And so I have to tip my hat to that. But we had three more qualified candidates, particularly David Belle Isle and the current GOP head of the state party. And Josh McCoon, I had trouble with the name, and Buzz Brockway. All of them would have been better. So why do I care about that issue so much specifically? Well, again, Jeff Duncan was a cascade of failure. And speaking of a cascade of failure, CNN is forced to be in a position where they have to admit to their voters, where they have to admit to their base that we screwed up, we got this wrong. And sure, Michael, which I have not seen too much stuff out of him, but fantastic delivery, good for you, smart man, just come on, dude. Jeff Duncan is not a Republican, all right? Jeff Duncan is the worst possible rhino I have ever seen in my young life in politics. Hey y'all, I'm not exactly looking at retirement anytime soon, but my parents are, and friends of my parents are, and I'm sure either you or someone you know is looking at retirement and wondering, what do I do? How do I help prepare for this in this economy with this terrible president and with a vice president who basically coup d'etat him and is now looking to run for president herself? How do you protect against this? Well, simple. You go over to my friends at Colonial Medals Group. They quite literally have something called the retirement package plan. This plan backs your wealth with gold and silver accounts. And furthermore, you will have direct access to these accounts. So you're not at the whims of Wall Street. You're not at the whims of inflation. You are in command of your own destiny. As a bonus, qualified applicants can receive up to $10,000 in free silver, plus a couple of other little goodies that they're going to package up for you, and you're going to be able to protect your wealth and your retirement. So go over to this link in the description below at colonialmedalsgroup.com or call this number 800-203-0422 and see how they can help you prepare for retirement today by backing your account with gold and silver. Don't delay your retirement, folks. Protect the money that you earned with Colonial Medals Group. They're here to help. And so don't include him when you're talking about us fellow Republicans, all right? Just don't do that. Ultimately, what he was saying about Joe Biden was 100% correct. And the worst part is, as much as I vilified Joe Biden on this channel, the truth is, I'd actually like the dude. The dude thinks that he's still the 90s Democrat he always was, but something changed in 2014. And I constantly go back to this as the official date that the evangelicals lost the national plot, where they officially were just out of power, and then the rich white liberals were the new dominant class. The moment Joe Biden whispered in Barack Obama's ear, this is a big effing deal on a hot mic, when the Supreme Court technically got the Obergefell case right. They got the case right, but I hate the fact that they also have this extra judicial power to now say everything's legal. That was one of the big problems with Roe v. Wade, that, okay, if you have the right to privacy, why do you get an extra judicial ability to say, now we find that all abortion is legal? Wait, what? When did they get that power in the Constitution? So I might be missing something here. Point that out in the comments below if you know the answer to this. But I don't like that extra judicial power. But regardless, I do believe that in this country, since we are not technically a Christian nation, we are not governed by the laws of the Bible, you should be allowed to have gay marriages. Okay? I think that's, I don't think that's great for civilization, but you know what? I think it's ultimately going to be fine. Having a gay member of the family is not an end to the family. It's just more of an incentive for us to be better men and have more kids, have a safer world for our wives and children. That's what we should be considering. That's what we need to be talking about, and not getting caught up in the culture war. But there was something else going on at the beginning of this video. This woman talking about a national abortion ban. I think Trump has not been telling the entire truth on abortion, but he doesn't like the culture war. He hates the culture war. That's why he is so cool with the gay Republicans. That's why people like Rob Smith can go into Mar-a-Lago and not be bothered by anyone and be welcomed in with open arms. Ultimately, Trump hates the culture war. So he has been talking about, he has not been talking about abortion at all, and has been trying to be even more silent on the issue. But what I think it might happen is the same thing that happened in 2016. He met in a room with Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, basically said, look, I've been dogging y'all for a while. I'm forced to continue to do this, for the same reason that CNN talks the way they do and just derides all their conservatives left, right, and center. And Trump is making this deal with them saying, I'm going to continue to attack in the media, but the truth is, what do you want from me? What deal can I make with you? And McConnell says, okay, when I give you a judicial nominee, no word from you, just say yes. And then Paul Ryan said, I've got a couple of ideas I really want to push. Please pass these bills. And Donald Trump said, done? Anything else? They said, no, we can handle this dichotomy. We'll see where the cards fall. Trump shakes their hand, leaves the room, and that's exactly what happens politically. What'll probably happen this go-round is he's not going to talk to Chuck Schumer. He's not going to talk to Mitch McConnell. He's going to look at J.D. Vance and say, hey, where can you use your influence in the Senate? And what are your demands? And Vance might go for an abortion ban, but here's the truth, the sad truth about an abortion ban. Because of bad state legislatures and because of negative media coverage, we aren't getting the Florida and Georgia bumps. Florida and Georgia have fantastic bans on abortion. Georgia has this great 6-week fetal heartbeat law that was so airtight that people would try lawsuits and would fail miserably. Big shout out to Ed Setzler for writing such a good piece of legislation. One of my favorite local legislators. Happy to have ever door knocked for him. And see, that's why I talk so much about Georgia politics. That's where I come from. Ultimately, Trump is making new deals right now. And it's not exactly a time for unity. It's a time for a mandate. We won the House, we won the Senate, we won the White House. It is time to start implementing an agenda. And it's time to start asking the questions, what do we want to use to win? How do we start fixing America? It's not a time for unity. It's a time for Democrats to say, hey, congratulations, good run. Please sit down. You are allowed at the big kids table, but we're running the show right now. And if we screw up, you're going to have your opportunity to have your input and criticism. After all, it turns out that the 2000s liberals had a point. And that's why Trump invited all these ex-liberals into the party. Because the left has abandoned the center, and now Trump has taken it. That's politics in a nutshell. That's what's really going on in this video. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Political Brawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.